Georgia, today we're talking about alt tags, and I guess first we should maybe define what an alt tag or alt text is. But it stands for alternative text, right? I see people call them alt tags or alt text. I tend to call them alt tags instead of alt text. But um, the purpose of them is for SEO, right?
It's for SEO. Well, no. I was actually yanking on your chain a little bit there. The purpose is not for SEO. The purpose is for people who are disabled, who are sight impaired. When they come to the website, they can understand what the image is using the screen reader. That's the reason.
And SEO's ruined alt tags.
Oh,
right? They go in
goodness.
and right? SEO people would go in and cram keywords in them and turn everything into spam, and that's not what their purpose is.
Yeah, you cram keywords into them, or you put something in there that has absolutely nothing to do with the picture because you're trying to be strategic. And then when the person gets to it who's using the site reader, they don't understand and they're not having a good experience on your site. Now, why would you want to do that?
I don't know. Does it work? Does cramming keywords into an alt tag work?
I don't believe that it works.
Yeah.
I don't believe that it works at all. I mean, you can argue about this. There are people that will take a couple different positions on that, but that's not the approach that I take when I'm looking at alt tags at all.
I agree. I think Google's smarter than that now. Maybe it did work 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe it did work, but I think Google's way smarter than that now. So the real purpose is for people who are visually impaired, right?
Correct.
So we really shouldn't be focusing on keywords at all. We should kind of pretend SEO doesn't exist and create a visually impaired user, create them with a visually impaired user in mind.
So I'm actually fierce about alt text. I believe strongly in writing fantastic alt text and in creating something that is going to help someone have a seamless experience when they're going through the article with their screen reader. It's not going to feel like they have stubbed their toe up against a brick or something like that when they get the alt text that you've written for your image. And that doesn't mean that it can't have something to do with the main point of the page or the keywords or whatever. It doesn't
They
mean
probably
it
should,
can't.
right?
Well, if it doesn't, in my opinion, you have to ask yourself if you have chosen the best image. So if you've got an image that you're using on your page and you're getting to write the alt text and you cannot write alt text that has something to do with your article and still describe the image, perhaps you've chosen the wrong image for your article.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. But what about, people use stock images all the time, right? People sitting around the boardroom smiling or talking. Is that okay?
Sure, if it has something to do with the article, if the stock image creates a fantastic experience for both sighted users and for visually impaired users, if you can describe the image and how it relates to the article, then it's fine to use a stock image. There's no problem with stock images.
Try to stuff keywords in that and try to make it relevant to using keywords on the page.
Yeah, so what I see all the time, and maybe you do too, is somebody's writing an article, they have an idea for a cool image that they want to use, and they're sort of shoehorning the image into the article because they think it's cool. And then on top of that, if you go in and you just kind of drop your keywords in there on top of that image that's not really fitting, then it's kind of herky-jerky for people that are trying to enjoy the article. So I feel like we have to turn it around a little bit, right? And say, it's not that you can't use stock images, it's not that they can't be great, but they have to enhance the experience that the person's having on the page, whether they're visually impaired or not, right? And if you've got your image there and you're like, okay, I need to create my alt text, and you can't create alt text that fits with the theme of your article, then you probably don't have the right image.
Mm-hmm.
Would be how I would approach that.
I don't know if, I guess together we've probably looked at thousands of websites. One of the common things that I see is people just leave alt tags blank or null.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because they don't think they're important, or they're just rushing to, launch a page. I mean, that's one of the, I mean, we do see a lot of people just cramming keywords, but I would say just as common as people cramming keywords are just people not paying attention to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And they may not know, they may not, sometimes if they're doing it, they don't know that they need that there. But again, if you're putting the needs of the person with disabilities first, then the rest of it, I think, is going to fall into place, which is why I'm fierce about alt text, because it puts the needs of the person with a disability first.
Yep. And I think we want to, let's look at a couple of examples. Let's just have some fun and look at a couple of examples of some good alt text or alt tags. And
Okay.
let me share my screen right now. Make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Okay, here we go. So the first example is this example actually came up this morning. Some people here at Atigro were creating a new case study for a web app called Pub Rule. And as you can see, this is an image, and the people that are working on the content asked me, they come up with an idea for what they feel the alt tag should be. And what they came to me with was they said, should this alt tag, actually have to pull this up here and find the what they had suggested. Their suggestion was mobile app development case study with before and after screenshots. So of course, my question to them was, well, are there really two images? Because I hadn't looked at this page, but there are actually two images in here. There's a before picture and an after picture. To me, the only thing that's really wrong with the alt tag that was suggested, is that they are mentioning the case study here. This image actually has nothing to do with the case study. So what I suggested is that they have, a unique alt tag for each image, screen cap of Pub Rule app before development work.
Correct.
For the one image, and screen cap of Pub Rule app after development work for the second image. So, Georgia, I don't know if you can think of any way to improve that.
So no, while you're reading it, I'm closing my eyes and I'm imagining that I can't see, and I know what a screen cap is. And so when you use the word screen cap, all of a sudden I know what's being included in this article, and that they're probably showing an example of what the app was. See, I couldn't help myself. I was talking to you and I had to close my eyes while I was talking to you. So yeah, so that's because, and another thing is, that's exactly what it is. It's a screen cap. So why would we not want to say that?
Yeah, I mean, screen cap, screenshot, I'm not really going to do keyword research to figure out if people look for screenshot, right?
No.
Just take the SEO hat off when you're doing this and just think about the user.
Right, exactly. Think about the person who can't see it, but needs to still understand what it is, right?
Yeah, and Georgia, that was a good lead in to the next example. This is another example. I was working on an article on EAT, and we came up with this. I think it's a pretty cool infographic on EAT, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And I was asking Georgia, I was asking you for your input on what the alt tag for this would be. And I read the alt tag to you, and I believe I don't see the alt tag right now, but it says something like infographic of expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness between or inside a hamburger bun, something to that effect. And you had said the same thing. You closed your eyes when I read it to you, and if you could visualize what the image was, then that is a good alt text. Notice I didn't try to cram EAT in there, which is something obviously we would like to rank for. Lots of other people have created infographics on EAT and things like that. So we're not trying to cram keywords. We're just trying to help the user.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's a great example, because you brought that up. You showed it on the screen like, oh, I remember doing that. I remember when we worked on that. And it is, it's exactly that. And is the person with the, with the screen reader, are they going to be able, to imagine the colors and everything on it? No, no. But that's not really necessary. What they are going to be able to understand is how the illustration that's on the page fits in with the article and
Hmm.
why it's important to the article. And then it's going to make sense. Again, it's not going to be like they're stubbing their toe up against something when they come to, whatever it is, we might have written if we were trying to do keyword stuffing on that alt tag.
Right. And of course, there's so many more things to accessibility than just alt tags. But to me, it's one of the easiest things you can do um, to help users who are visually impaired. So why not do a good job at it?
Exactly. 100%.
Let's pick on another site. I kind of picked these up kind of randomly. I kind of looked at them, of course, before we started this discussion. But let's pick on a bigger site. And of course, Ukraine is in the news now. And so I just Googled Ukraine, and I kind of randomly picked a news site that that came up on the first page of Google for Ukraine. And this article on CBS News shows up for Ukraine in turmoil. And this image here, it looks like an image with a building that's damaged. So let's just take a look and see what their alt tag or alt text is, and see if we think this is a good example or not. So an easy way to look at the alt text of an image is, if you're using Chrome, just use the inspector. There's also plugins and other tools that you can get that will help you easily find alt tags. I'm used to using the inspector. But the alt tag for this image, you probably can't see it on the
No.
screen share, but the alt text says, a view shows a damaged administrative building of there's some city, I can't pronounce it, starts with a Z, of the nuclear power plant and inner Hodar. Yeah, sorry, I can't pronounce that correctly. But Georgia, is that a pretty good alt tag?
So it's interesting because I was closing my eyes while you were reading. Now I had the benefit of seeing the image before you started reading.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute the words that I heard the words damaged building, and then the names of the places where we were talking about, or where they were talking about, I could picture it. I could imagine what it was, and I could understand, most important, I could understand the context for why the image was used. And so for me, with my eyes closed, if I'm hearing somebody read that to me along, and I'm hearing a voice read the article with me, I'm going to have a good experience. I'm going to understand, and I'm going to have my ability to understand this important information is not going to be inhibited because of, in part because of how they wrote their alt text.
Yeah, I honestly, I was kind of surprised that it was a good alt
Yeah.
tag, because a lot of times big sites, big, mainstream media sites and big brands, everybody thinks that that their SEO is perfect, and a lot of times you find that they are not. But in this case, CBS, good job on the alt tags here. I haven't looked at the rest of the
Yeah.
site, but they're doing a really good job with alt tags.
Well, before you opened it up, I was almost like, okay, so do you want to bet what it's going to be, good or bad? You want to flip
Yeah,
a coin here. Is it going to be good or bad? Because
same thing.
you really never know. And you would
But
especially assume that a large organization like CBS, they probably have somebody thinking about their SEO. So
yeah,
I was ready to be surprised.
And the other thing is, certain types of sites, something like this, it's a little easier to write alt tags for something like this. It can be a little bit more difficult or
Yeah.
requires some more thought
Yeah.
for like e-commerce sites and things like that.
Yeah.
That's the next example we want to take a look at is,
Okay.
again, just kind of randomly pulled this out. This is an example from Rural King, which is kind of a farm supply company. And this is for their product, which is Pedigree Adult Complete Nutrition Roasted Chicken, Rice, and Vegetable Dry Dog Food, 50-pound bag. It's for this product. And so I just randomly picked an image in here. This looks like some type of nutritional information. It's the recommended daily feeding guide for adult dogs. So again, let's use our inspector and see what their alt tag is.
All right, I'm closing my eyes while you read it to me.
Okay. Their alt tag says Pedigree Adult Complete Nutrition Roasted Chicken, Rice, and Vegetable Dry Dog Food, 50-pound bag.
Ugh.
Yeah. So
No.
yeah, it actually looks like all they're doing is they are using the which I believe this is probably the H1 heading on the page. They're basically using the product name,
Hmm.
and I didn't look at this before, but my guess is probably all those images probably have the same alt tag,
Oh, that would
right?
be bad.
Right. And so
Right.
what they should have done was maybe made this alt tag be, recommended daily feeding guide for adult dogs,
Yeah, they could do
right?
that. They could also, use the word label because it looks
Yeah,
like a label
label,
when you're looking at it.
exactly. Yes, that is,
When,
it looks like it's the actual label from the package,
right,
perhaps.
right.
So they
Because
could have
when,
said package label of
yes, yes.
of the feeding guide for adult dogs.
And then you
Um,
can picture it,
and I'm
right?
just for fun, let's just take a look at another one and see if this probably. So this is an image of roasted chicken, rice, and vegetable flavor, and my guess is they're probably using the same alt tag. So let's see what
Okay,
they're using
let's
here.
see. I'll close my eyes again in case it's different.
Yes, the alt tag is the same as the other
It's the
one.
same as the other one.
So, and Georgia,
Okay.
we know why, like when you have all these images that need alt tags, we understand why they probably just did this programmatically, right? They
Mhm.
they took whatever the name of the product is and they added it to all the images because it would take time and effort to create a unique alt tag for every image.
It does take time and effort. The other thing is that, hopefully, and sometimes you see this happen with people that think that that's how it's supposed to be done, that that's what you're supposed to do with your alt tags, right?
Mhm.
You're supposed to grab something that is very similar to your H1, and you're supposed to use it in there. And so that ends up sometimes being a problem too. So they might have just been busy, or they might have actually thought that that's how you're supposed to do it,
Or they don't know.
or they don't
Don't know
know,
that
right?
matters, right?
Exactly. They don't know.
So as we finish up, just want to throw out some thoughts. Like the thing that I always think about when we're trying to, as SEOs, we're trying to figure out what's Google going to do, what's the future. Are these going to become alt tags? Is usability and accessibility going to become? You can't imagine it's going to become less important, right? So I can only see alt tags and anything else to do with usability becoming even more important and more important part of the algorithm.
Well, and it's logical, right? I mean, there's a reason that Google is as successful as they are. And it's because they've learned how to provide a good user experience time after time after time. And that's why people keep going back. And so why, I mean, there is no logical reason to deprioritize the needs of people with disabilities. So I can't imagine
Absolutely.
that happening.
Yep. So we expect this to, Google will probably turn up the dial on this as a ranking signal,
Yeah,
other
yeah.
things related to accessibility.
So
Well,
see,
anyway,
it's
this
a,
is. I'm
oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry. I
I
would
was
say
just
it's a really good use of our time to spend time thinking about how we do this, right?
right.
About how we write really good, um, really good text that aids users with visual impairments in enjoying our site. It's not a waste of time. It's a good use of time.
All right, Georgia. Well, this has been great. We'll look forward to some other discussions on some
Yeah.
geeky SEO stuff real soon.
Okay.
All
That
right.
sounds
Take care.
fantastic.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.